What's going on, everybody? Today I'm joined by the one and only Matt from Assemble. You might already know him as one of his 125,000 plus subscribers across what is now 2 YouTube channels. You can find him at Assemble, or what is the new channel, Assemble Wrestling, which is more focused on WWE and IRL pro wrestling. Matt, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, buddy. Good to be here. We're gonna have some fun today, aren't we? It's gonna get silly.
Absolutely. It's genuinely a pleasure to have you. You were one of the very first WWE content creators that I started watching when I first got into WWE. So it's a little surreal that, getting to do a video like this with you. So really appreciate you taking time out of your, what I know is a really busy schedule.
Yeah, no worries, buddy. So what did you want to do today? What do you want to talk
about? Let me talk to you. We should have did your scribble. Damn. We should have did get your scribble, Matt, from the start of your videos. Exposed. There it is. There's
no.
So what we're doing today is we are taking two perspectives. We've got myself, who most of you know at this point. I've been watching the WWE for just over a year now, went head first, full diehard. And then Matt over here has been a fan for, you said 30 years?
Yes, sir. As long as I can remember.
So what we'll be doing is we'll be taking a bunch of your guys' questions that you submitted a little over a week ago now. And we're going to be taking these questions from the two different perspectives of someone who has been watching for a much shorter time and someone who has that real deep, those memories, those Attitude Era, the legendary 2010s.
Oh no.
Okay. First question we had that came in from, we'll take some from the Patreon first. Dez says, what was the match that was the aha moment for you where you understood what wrestling was and why people liked it? And would it be a match that you'd recommend for others to watch if they haven't watched wrestling yet? I'll throw that one to you first.
Oh gosh. Okay. I've had a little bit of time to think of these, but also I'm like, geez, it could be all over the plate. There's so much. Okay, so for an aha moment for me as a wrestling fan, it's a lot of like when you're a kid. Now, if Des is asking more specifically of just in general, what was that aha moment for you? Not necessarily like when you clued in how wrestling works, but for me, one of the ahas was just one of my earliest memories was Hulk Hogan, and I think it was against Ultimate Warrior, like the very early days. And I specifically just have flashes of Hogan and Hulkamania. So seeing I remember on TV as a little kid seeing spots of like Hogan versus Slaughter, Hogan versus Warrior, and seeing those little moments there versus Sheik as well, and not knowing any of them. Like Big John Studd, I would see, and then I would have like the rubbery action figures of them too. I didn't know who Big John Studd was, but then I would see them on TV. I'm like, oh, this is cool, and it didn't come on TV very often where I am. So I guess that was just kind of the early days of the early 80s of seeing it here and there and just kind of filter into me and being like, oh, I like that. Because it's just kind of over the top, cartoonish, comic booky, superhero stuff. So that was the one for me. How about you?
It's very funny that I already like the idea of the concept of this video because you're pulling from, me, I've never seen a Hulk Hogan match. Still today, have not seen one yet.
Okay. A lot of leg drops and brother.
That's what I've seen in the game. When his finisher was a leg drop, I was like, oh, it's really fancy. That's cool. Not what I'm used to seeing now. But mine is because the first show I ever watched was WrestleMania 39. So I would say the aha moment where I really got locked in of, oh, I need to know more about the wrestling side of it. It was main event night 1, Usos versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And that was because it was the first time I had seen a really good storytelling tag match, I felt like, where I had seen all the different angles. I've seen some 1v1s, throughout the night, but that's one that I've gone back and watched multiple times. And I think it was heavily the Usos, seeing them kind of work in tandem and doing moves together, super kick central. But at the time it was brand new for me. So it didn't feel like it was too much or anything like that. Which also, I didn't know how they were making the sound for the super kicks at the time. So that was really looking cool to me. Yeah, the whole thigh slap, that was looking really cool to me. So it got me really excited. And that would be the match where I was kind of like, okay, how are they doing that? He can't be kicking him in the jaw. I need to know more. And so I started diving way more into the behind the scenes stuff. So that's cool that it's one from literally just like a year ago, and then all the way back to Hulk Hogan.
Brother.
Next one
Uh,
is from. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna read that one if you want.
Oh, I'd be
Proto-
honored to have you read that one.
Prototype 27 says, if you could make one change to one current storyline, what would you do? If there's more to that, sorry if I cut. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, if you could change one current storyline in any WWE show, Raw, NXT, SmackDown, what change would you do? I guess, or what would you make? So if you
I
could change
wasn't.
one thing from the current storylines. So for you, I'll throw it back to you then. What's one current storyline that you're like, or you would change?
It's see. I don't know if I guess I read that as like not necessarily. I wouldn't like retroactively change, but how I would start it to go,
Mm,
and it
okay.
kind of works perfectly. I'm almost glad that we had to postpone this to do this week because the Liv Morgan and Dominic kiss that just
Ah,
happened kind of plays into what I had already had for this answer. I want Rhea to start stalking Liv and creating some sort of a paranoia. She doesn't need to be on the show, but leave signs that show that Rhea was here or something. Kind of make Liv get a little bit paranoid or something. She's all cocky and all excited. She's the champ. Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with Dom and the Judgment Day with her, but having Rhea like almost show like she's kind of in the shadows. She's coming. Um, and see if you can interestingly put that little bit of fear and that paranoia in Liv Morgan. I think that would be really cool.
I think it's a nice idea too, because you would get people already invested, hyped up that Rhea is going to return. It's happening. It's almost, and it also plays into like, instead of just the traditional Rhea returns and like her music hits, comes down, attacks Liv, the kind of the almost standard. It'd be a cool twist on it because the audience and the viewer would know what's happening, but Liv wouldn't necessarily know. Like she might think this is Rhea, but maybe she hasn't clued in yet. And that's when the stories can be really good, is that the audience knows, the viewer knows, oh my gosh, it's Rhea and she's coming back and she's gonna get her. And Liv could just be confused or dumb or whatever. So yeah, I like that a lot. Cause I don't like you, like I don't want them to just announce Rhea is coming back and then do it. That's a creative way to do it.
And you?
Um, I guess I would, and this kind of plays into a video I'm doing myself this week, is I would change how Damian Priest is been used as world champion. And what I mean is, like, I like Damian Priest as champion. I think I mean, he won Money in the Bank. He's good with the belt. Like, I like it. But I feel like he has been pushed down the card so much that he is like third story. Like, Judgment Day story is the bigger story. And he's the world champion, and he's like middle of the show. He doesn't main event the show. He's doing some backstage stuff. He's got Carlito hanging around. Like, I don't really feel like he is the big world champion. I'm looking at him versus Drew, and I'm like, well, Drew's going to destroy him just because they haven't done anything with Priest. And I know it's been short term. Like, it's been such a short period since WrestleMania. I just feel like they haven't been able to crack it. It's almost like I want to redo Priest, his whole build, because I think leading to Mania and the cash in, he was still just kind of doing whatever with the tag titles, and yeah, he wasn't doing too much. So I would kind of redo Priest as world champion.
I think it's a great point because you're comparing it to looking at Drew. I look at it as look at how Seth Rollins was with the title. It just feels like
Uh,
night and day.
yeah, exactly. It is night and day, where Seth is like, I'm going to fight every week, and yes, he's the face for it, so he's doing that, and he's getting more credibility with the belt. But totally, like, it just feels like such a contrast. And now I'm like, that title was, Seth didn't like main event shows necessarily, but it was a bigger deal. And I feel like Priest is like, he's got two pay-per-views and PLEs, and then he's got the next one with Drew, and I'm like, Drew's probably going to take it off of him there. I'm like, it kind of sucks.
It kind of seems like that's what the fans want too, just because it hasn't felt that fulfilling. And I agree. As someone who likes Damien, I've been in on him since the Bad Bunny match.
Oh yeah.
That was my exposure of okay, I really like what Damien can do. But yeah, even as someone who was rooting for him and was happy to see him cash in successfully, yeah, it's been an underwhelming usage of him as a champion. Um, Next question is from Zach. If you could repackage any WWE talent with a new gimmick, who would it be and what would you make their new gimmick?
Ooh,
That
hold
one was
on.
tough for me,
That is hard. I'm just
right?
trying to think. Everyone's very straightforward. And it's like I wouldn't give like Braun Breaker like a weird gimmick. Like I like what Braun, you saw
Yeah.
him on Raw. I like what they're doing with him. I'm just looking at the roster right now of like who could I repackage to do something different? Okay. Oh man.
I could give you mine.
Okay, you go ahead while I'm
Okay.
looking and thinking. I'm
Yeah.
like, go. No, I'm kidding.
Mine is I don't even know if this is exactly what the question was, because I know that like this isn't what a gimmick is, but I guess it's more so I have who I'd want to have their gimmick altered a little bit. Maybe I don't know what I want it to be, but I am kind of ready when needed for Ludwig to separate from Gunther and be this brilliant cartoon heel villain. Because dude, he might be one of my favorite just caricatures. The way he stands with that back arch and he's kind of like this, like the person interviewing him is to his side, he's facing away. He's so good at being that cartoon villain that I could see him. I'm not saying he needs to go on a big title run or anything, but he could be, I feel like he could actually stand out as a proper heel against someone who is maybe going for like a mid-card title or whatever, and kind of move up that way. I like him on the mic that much, and I totally believe, I don't even know what he sounds like out of character. That's one of those things where he's so in character and so cartoony, perfectly cartoony as that villain. That's what I'd want to see.
Okay, that is a very good one because I could see Ludwig with like the Intercontinental title,
Yeah.
and if he like took it off Sammy, then you have the tension of Ludwig and like Gunther's looking at him like that's my belt, and Ludwig can break off and do that. And I like him as that idea of him as like that super villain because he does have that air about him.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is going to be Karrion Cross, and it would not be a large departure at all from his current character with Final Testament. The thing with Cross is he is I like him. I like his character. I like him outside of WWE. I follow him. He actually followed me back, which was wild. And then he
That's
like
sick.
messaged me a couple of times. And I was like, that's so cool. But it was funny because I had like brief interactions with Cross online, and he posted something online and it triggered me with him. He was sitting there in his room and he's like into jujitsu and martial arts and everything, and he's crazy with it. He took a bat, a baseball bat, and he snapped it in half. He put it in like a leg lock and he cracked it and he snapped a full baseball bat, wrapped his legs around it, and just the pressure and just popped it and he broke a bat. I was like, that's insane. And then I messaged it or replied when I saw that, and I was like, you should tweak your get. I wish you could do this on SmackDown or Raw. That's what I said to him. I was like, introduce the bat as part of the character. I said it reminds me a lot of Negan from Walking Dead, where Negan
Ooh.
has the barbed wire baseball bat. And he replied back and said, "Yeah, that's what I want to do, but I don't think we're allowed to make it happen." Is basically what he said.
Yeah.
Because I look and it started to make me think about his character, and I'm like, he rocks the leather jacket, he's got that look. I was like, "Oh, he's pretty much like Negan, but they don't give him any mic time. Like he's just kind of with AOP and it's a cool group, but it hasn't clicked." So what I would do is I would rejig Karrion Cross to basically be Negan, where he's running as a cult leader in some way, but he's got his followers, his wife. He's way more dangerous. I'd do vignettes with like a bloody bat with the barbed wire around it, and just make him more menacing instead of just Mr. TikTok.
You
TikTok.
you know why that works out even better is because if he keeps this whole like grayscale black and white um promos and stuff, you could do that and keep blood on the bat
Yep.
without, even if the networks don't want there to be red
Right.
on it, it could be dripping in black and white already and it doesn't feel like it's been altered. That
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
And then he could like ting the bat like on the ground as he walks
Mhm.
by. Like, oh, there's so much you could do. Cross is always one that I'm like, they haven't cracked it yet. So that'd be kind of cool.
Philly Man says, for you, Deporticus, what is your favorite chant? And for the collab person, I didn't say who I was collabing with, so surprise. For your collab person, what chant do you miss from the Attitude Era?
All right, what chance do you like? You're in a new era, sir.
I am, and I've got one that feels like a one-off, or only when they're going to go to certain places. But that AJ Styles in
Yeah.
France,
Phenomena.
that was so cool. I added that because I stream on Twitch and we have like our universe mode and everything. I
Yeah.
added that sound bit. I clipped it from the show, and so we can like play it during our matches, or it could pop up as if the crowd is doing. I love that chant so much. But generally speaking, one that I love hearing, it's not really so much the creativity, it's more of the, I guess maybe it's like an empathy thing of how it probably makes the wrestlers feel. But I love what a good "This is awesome" chant is going after some big spots late in a match, because I feel like as a wrestler, that would fuel me so much. Like that would make me feel so good that whatever we're doing is resonating. Like the crowd's in on it, like they're loving it, and you can always kind of, I feel like you can almost see, especially the faces will definitely play into more of the crowd a little bit. I see it with Becky a lot. Well, she'll turn. Cody
Yep.
will do it a lot too, where they'll face the away from the hard cam and kind of get a little bit out of them. And it's, I think that's probably the one that makes me feel the best that happens on like a week to week basis.
For me, for Attitude Era, you still get a little bit of it today, but it's the crowd chanting "asshole" at the heel or the general manager.
Right.
I do because we have two neutral GMs. It doesn't work, but I do wish crowds today would again occasionally they lean into that. They do a little bit more in AEW. I wish crowds did that, not all the time, but when they really didn't like someone like Dom, instead of drowning him out just with booze, I would love it if they gave him the asshole chant sometimes. It just adds to it. It makes it more fun. They have better reactions. The faces can play off of it more too. So that's the one I would pick.
It could give them a little more to do other than just uh, say one sil.
Uh, boo!
Unbelievable. This is the 15th time and I'm still surprised by it.
Uh,
Uh, okay, you want to take the
Angel
next one?
Rodriguez, what's your opinion on how wrestling has evolved? Looking back at the different pace or storytelling wrestling has. Sorry, it's cut off after that, but
Has had before comparing it to
oh,
now.
there we go. Sorry, I had a slide over there.
You're good.
Comparing it to now, um, what's your opinion on how wrestling has evolved? Looking back at the different pace or storytelling wrestling has had before comparing to now. I guess I'll try to throw that to you then. How is I mean you've looked at some stuff from older days
Mhm.
a little bit, right? And then you just got into it like a year ago. So what have you seen kind of evolve? Because there's even production wise stuff has evolved even in the last 6 months.
Yeah. So, I mean, a big thing for me is storytelling with pretty much all of pro wrestling. That's where I get the most invested in. And from what I understand, in a previous era led by a different man, would be stories would just start and I guess just be forgotten. And I
Yeah.
got my first taste of that apparently in this in my first year. I didn't know this until someone told me later, but it's so funny that I had this feeling and then it was confirmed like 8 months later of why I felt that way. I guess that same person is who had control over the Raw after Mania after 39, I
Hmm.
believe. And that's when Brock Lesnar turned on Cody right before they were supposed to have a tag match against Roman. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then a month goes by, like, yeah, they're going at each other, but I'm still like, man, I can't wait to hear like why that happened. Like, I can't wait for Brock to pull out a mic. And then we're 2 months in, man, I'm hoping Brock tells us why he did that. Next thing I know, I'm at SummerSlam and they're doing the final, like the best of three, and Brock loses, holds his arm up, and I was like, that's great. Why did you do it though? Like you just hit him. You didn't have a reason. So like that was like the one little piece of strong booking from the previous era that actually got to me. And if that's how it used to be all the time, like, or at least often, that would have
Oh,
drove me nuts.
it's I don't have anything off the top of my head. How has it evolved? I mean, there's all different eras. So like if the 80s was like you had closed circuit television, so you wouldn't have week to week TV. You would a lot of people like me, I'd be behind. You'd be behind like 6 months because you would see it on tape or it would come out later and you would see a match of Hogan and Warrior or Slaughter or whoever, and that's what you would see. So there was no like, it didn't feel from a fan watching it as a little kid, no like continuity, like week to week. It didn't feel like. And then obviously once we got into like Raw being on TV every week, and especially Attitude Era, which is what I grew up with, and WCW, Nitro, you could see it week to week how it evolved. Matches during the Attitude Era, like a lot of us, we look so fondly at like Attitude Era was the best and all that. We have rose-colored glasses. It was phenomenal for the highest of high points. But on a week to week show of Raw, which was 2 hours then, there's a lot. It's like 3-minute matches, 2-minute matches. Like,
Dang.
and there's like 14 matches on the card, and then it was just big segment, bang, Austin, glass break, The Rock, Mankind, Undertaker, DX. It was like just hot shot, hot shot, hot shot. So matches were so short and meaningless. And also, when you look back as a kid, you're like, I don't even know who half of these wrestlers were. In your mind, you're like, it's all my TV was all just Austin and Rock and Triple H, but there's like all these matches where you're like X-Pac took on some guy and you're just like, I don't even know who this man is that he fought this week, and then boom, it's gone. There's endless times where the big man, big VKM would run all these storylines, stuff would just get dropped. Characters would just be gone.
I hate it.
It would change all the time.
I would hate it, especially if there was one that came along that I really liked. If it wanted, oh, I like this idea, and then it's been like a month or two, because I'm assuming they don't announce the way it is now with social media. There probably wasn't easy to access announcements of somebody being released or going somewhere else. So you probably just didn't see them again, right? You just
Yeah, but that's the thing too, is like it's even plays into today. And like, yeah, now there's social media where it's like, okay, these wrestlers have been released. WWE officially announces it. You would go to WWF or WWE.com during the day, like early days of internet, and you would be able to probably see from there, or dirt sheets, message boards, and that's how you would find out. But you're you're a kid and you're growing up watching all this. You're not necessarily doing that. I'd just be watching, and then you're like, okay, this person isn't here anymore. Okay. Or you turn on Nitro and they're on Nitro, and you're like, oh, that Rick Rude's over there now. Great. I gotta watch Rick Rude. He just showed up at the same night. Oh, Lex Luger showed up. That's cool. How did he get there? It's just weird.
I guess it's also fair to think that I mean I'm about to turn 32 in like 5 days actually. Um,
Congratulations.
and yeah, so someone else says like congratulations. It always makes you feel like I survived, like I made it another year. So I
That's
like
what
that.
my angle is too with this, is that you are still alive. You still made it.
But like maybe as a kid I wouldn't have cared that much about the story. Maybe I would have wanted a little bit more of just the matches. So that, I mean, it's very fair to assume I would not have the same desires and priorities as a small child as I do in my 30s. Um, ZK ESP says, what is something you miss from the older era of wrestling that you want added to the modern era? So that one sounds like it was for you. And what is something that modern pro wrestling does better than old school wrestling?
That one's
Okay.
for you. Okay.
I
So
can
from
I
the
can hit the second one. So if you want to take the first one, I
all right.
feel
So from older era, what do I miss that I wish the modern era did? But I don't know why my head went to like, I want real Titantrons again. We used, instead of just their name, like Nia Jax, just
oh,
showing up on your screen at the top. It used to be that like Austin, and it was all the visuals of from his matches hitting stunners with his music. I think the WWE today has like really big superstars, right? You have Punk and Seth and Cody and all of these people, and Drew and Liv and Rhea and Becky and Charlotte. You have really big names, but I kind of miss like really, I don't know, larger than life characters in some form or fashion. And I get mostly not to do so much with the 80s, but mostly like Attitude Era, where they were a little more edgy. Uh, Everyone is like very athletic today, which
mhm.
is great because the moves people could do is insane versus just doing, you know, elbows and back elbows and slams and scoop slams. So the wrestling is never, it's never been better. But I feel like I miss characters, and I don't mean outlandish, crazy. There's a garbage man and this guy versus the repo man. And I miss more of Attitude Era characters, like just, yeah, like Austin and Triple H in his prime, watching them where they were just badasses. and they had more edge to them versus a lot of it's so slick and smooth today for production. I miss the grunginess of Raw.
Is there
Everything is
someone today that reminds you of that, that gives you that vibe?
not much. Like it's so silky smooth produced now that it doesn't have that, I don't know, on the edge of your feet. Oh, okay. I'll give you a more straight answer here. Raw doesn't end on a cliffhanger. Back in the Attitude Era, you could watch Nitro or Raw, and the show would be ending, and in the final 30 seconds, chaos would break out, and you'd have Jim Ross on commentary being like just going screaming off the air, being like, you got to tune in next week. What's going to happen? Austin hit McMahon with the stunner. Like, he hit him with, hit the Undertaker showed up and he put Stone Cold on the cross and lifted him up. Like, what's going to happen next week? There is, to me, there's none of that. We end with like either a 20-minute promo or we end with a match.
Yeah.
Great match, great wrestling, but match ends, Jey Uso's arm is raised, and we quietly go off the air. I miss Attitude Era where it doesn't have to be just like a truck driving into the arena every week, but I miss the, oh, did you see like that lasting impression? That's what I miss.
It's almost like in the new era, they could learn from that and go back, leave the cliffhanger, and instead of being like, you got to tune in next week to Raw. I mean, in today's social media era, that could be like their digital clips that come out of like run over to X or run over to whatever for whatever clips happen. That seems like they could bring that back and push things that are a little more of probably a priority now. Before I give my answer to the second part, in response, just a quick response to what you said about missing the old Titantrons. It's really funny that you say that because it really is the whole, it being like a graphic or a name is so common now that when Logan came out during King of the Ring, my fiance also, if you don't know, she's also a massive WWE fan. We got into it together. So we're like all in diehards.
I'm not jealous at all.
She pointed out, and I want to say it just the way she said it. Why is his screen just highlights? As in, that's how different that, you know what I mean? So it almost stands out as something strange to someone who just watched in the last year.
Yeah, because I miss the days, man, of just watching Kurt Angle, and it just gets you hyped. It gets you so hyped up. Oh, the last thing I'll say on this to bring back, I actually thought of this in the car the other day, and the reason why it triggered in my brain is because Creed came on my like Apple Music or whatever on my playlist, and My Sacrifice came on from Creed. And the reason why that matters, and you need to Google this yourself, is go on YouTube and watch WWE package video, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Creed, My Sacrifice. WWE used to do at the end of the Attitude Era, they would just put out these random hype video packages that were a minute long. You have a little bit of Austin voiceover, the music is blasting, and it's just highlights. Austin's greatest moments. They did it with Jeff Hardy. They did it with Triple H, was epic. They had all of these hype video packages that, and then you go back into Raw and you were like, I just want them to just beat the tar. Like, let's go. It got you so hyped. You get none of that. That's what I want.
That does sound cool. I'll have to look into that. As for the second part of that question from ZK, what is something in modern pro wrestling does better than old school wrestling? From the little bit that I have been able to see, and now I've gotten a little bit more of a taste of it from, watching the Patreon matches, but the overall presentation, just the camera work, the pre-match, like hyping, especially the camera work. Jeez, I just watched the Shield versus the Bray Wyatt family, or the Wyatt family, which is a fun match. But that was the one that stuck out to me the most so far, because that might have been the first old classic match that I've gone back and watched from, that like in the 2010s. The camera cuts were making me sick, dude. Like zoom, cut, this, cut, zoom in, zoom out. Every time I go down, zoom in and out to try to. It felt like they were compensated. Like it was hurt. Just step back. Just let me watch. He's being thrown through a table. You don't have to up it for me. I can. Yeah, he's literally like in their face. So. I don't have a ton to like elaborate on that, but it's definitely, I even said in my last video that the presentation is so big for me. I love the theatrics and the entrances and the hype before matches, recapping everything that's been going on,
Yep.
stuff like that. That's what I've loved, and I feel like I just got quick backstage clips of like I'm about to take him out or something, like it's very, there wasn't, it didn't seem like they had to go to very much like theater school or anything like that, the way
No.
Cody did to get ready to be in the WWE.
Cody's theater trained actor.
Right. uh let's see, Final Wolf says, what are both of your opinions on the Money in the Bank briefcase and the stories they've done with it? Do you feel like a cash in champion feels less than one who earned it traditionally? Okay, so what are your feelings on the stories they've done with Money in the Bank briefcase, and do you feel like a cash in champion feels less like a champion than someone who earned it traditionally?
Really, I think Money in the Bank serves as like a really cool storytelling device. It just does. Like, it's really cool that you could win this thing a guaranteed contract, do it anytime for a whole calendar year. The only pitfall I see is like, why wouldn't? And the only person that did this or said they were going to do it was Mr. Kennedy. When Mr. Kennedy was going to, he won Money in the Bank, and he said, "I'm going to cash in at WrestleMania." And then he got injured, and then he got let go,
Mm.
and it was a whole thing. Edge won it off of him on a random SmackDown, so it was a mess. But there's I do like Money in the Bank as a cash in, as a storytelling, device for it. I don't think it takes away from it. WWE's just done a mixed bag job of cash ins. Sometimes they're epic, like Dolph Ziggler cashing in was tremendous after WrestleMania. You've also had guys like oh, who that Damian Sandow. When Damian Sandow was still with WWE, he won Money in the Bank, and he had a really cool leather, like, briefcase style. It was really cool. Cashed in on John Cena and lost, and it was like it buried him and it was over.
Dang.
So it's WWE. Otis recently, he won Money in the Bank during COVID era, because Vince really liked him apparently, and really liked what he was doing with Mandy Rose, which was the whole thing. It gave him Money in the Bank, they took it off him, put it on The Miz. Then The Miz cashed in and won the WWE title, I think off Bobby Lashley, and then lost it the next month or something to Randy Orton. I could be mixing it up, but it was something like that. Like, he did terrible. It's terrible. So, what do you
I
think of Money in the Bank?
I hated the way it was treated with Damien in terms of like the way they tell the stories with it. I felt like I wanted to take him seriously, and well, okay, two things. I don't like when the cash in, or I'm sorry, I don't like when the briefcase is talked about too much, but I know they have to remind people or tell people who don't know it. But then it starts to feel like this process of, I almost know they're not going to cash in because they talked about it tonight. Because it seems like the most effective cash in would be the music hits, and you're like, oh God, I forgot about that. That seems like what their goal would be.
Yep.
Whereas, seeing them backstage talking with like Rhea and them, look at the screens, like maybe tonight. I don't know. Maybe okay, so not tonight. Got it. But that's not the end of the world. But it's the like comedy fail cash-ins that they're doing with someone like Damian Priest. Seeing him look goofy with it, I think really that completely killed the vibe for me on taking him seriously with the briefcase. I liked it better. Like, walk around, lurk with it, look like a threat with it, but don't have your failed cash-ins make you look goofy. Like, I don't like the idea of throwing in a little bit of comedy with your serious, your more serious characters. Do that for someone like Otis. Like, if someone who does have more of a comedy gimmick behind them, it would feel funnier if someone like that was failing to cash in goofy ways, and then eventually maybe they successfully do it almost accidentally or something.
Did you watch, did you watch Austin Theory's cash in? Did you see that?
I that I think I saw
Alright.
him attempted. I think the only one I saw of him doing it was at I watched the SummerSlam where I think it was Brock and Roman. So seeing him kind of run in and fail to do it then, that was like, yeah, that was one of those.
It was the one of the low points too, and it's worth going back to see the highlights of it because it doesn't make any sense. So the long and short is he ended up cashing in on the US championship against Seth and won the US title, cashing in Money in the Bank. Yeah, I just broke your brain.
After failing to go for the one that, okay, all right,
He couldn't put it off. He teased the SummerSlam one with Brock and Roman, and then decided, nah, nah. And then he went over and he's now gonna go after Seth for the US title. did it, and then the month later he lost. It made
Okay.
no it was literally like Triple H just kinda was taking over, and like, that was the rumblings, things with Vince, he's kinda gone, but still around, like, it was weird, and it was one of those things where, like, "We gotta get this pull the trigger," like, but the way they did yeah, the US title, all they had to do, if they just wanted him to just lose and be done with this briefcase and forget about it, he just had to he had to cash in properly on Roman and lose to Roman, because then
Who
everyone would be like, "Yeah, he lost to Roman. Fine." And he's
who
going
hasn't?
after the main title. Yeah, and it was the only belt. So why wouldn't he try to go after the main title? And he tries to sneak in and go to Roman. No. He went to Seth. US title. It was stupid.
This next question is kind of similar to what we've already kind of addressed, but we'll still do it as like an excuse to bring up another thing for the past that I kind of wanted to talk about. Nate Cruz says biggest difference older fans watching modern era see versus biggest difference new fans watching the classic era see. I'll use that as an excuse to bring up women's wrestling and say how much
Mhm.
like
There
I
is.
only just recently learned what the actual rules were for a bra and panties match of how that actually worked. I heard about it and I thought it was just, oh, they're just wrestling in like, I don't know, like bikinis or something. No, I didn't realize the rules were to when you needed to strip them down. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so we have come light years in terms of
Mm.
women's wrestling. The fact that Rhea Ripley or Bailey are two of like my favorite wrestlers right now, and it's not for those reasons. It's because they're very exciting to watch. One of my favorite matches that I've ever seen was Rhea versus Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania 39. That was one of the matches that got me into it. So women's wrestling is being taken seriously, being, the cover, part of the cover of their games, being taking part in massive shows, like main events of certain shows. Like it's really cool to see, and I'm glad, especially knowing that my fiance is very much in wrestling. I don't think she would have if it was like that. I don't know if she would have been such a diehard the way she is now if it was being portrayed that way, and kind of in a. I mean, it was, people say it was a different time. Doesn't mean I have to like that time. But women's wrestling, easily the biggest and best difference I could just pull from old to new.
It's it's a great one to pull from because I totally agree. Watching the 80s and 90s, watching Attitude Era mostly, uh, it was it's all the women's if there was a women's segment, and through the 2000s, like into Ruthless Aggression era, which in some ways did it like what leaned in harder to it. Like every week on SmackDown during Ruthless Aggression era, it was Sable and Tori Wilson and Dawn Marie, bra and panties matches, Stacy Keebler, and it's fantastic. But that's all it was.
Mhm.
You would get yes, but there were standouts. Like you would have Trish, Lita, Ivory, Jacqueline. They could all and more. They could all hold their own as legitimate wrestlers. Gail Kim later on, like there was a ton of them in there that were trying to be athletes and wrestle and do legitimate stuff. But Attitude Era was like Sable is in the ring, Sunny is in the ring. That's what they're there for, and that was it. So to see it, yes, come that far where now it's all about the matches, they're in storylines. It could still be better. There's still times where even today where you're like, why isn't Bailey on TV or
Yep.
defending the belt at a PLE? You're like, that's the WWE champion.
Why isn't she on any of the posters?
Yeah, like no posters, no nothing. So you're still there's still that stuff,
Yeah.
that still happens where you're like, how come they're not on the marquee things? Um, Yeah, it's still not even is kind of the point, is like it's still not all the way there, but they've definitely made there's light years ahead. You got women main eventing WrestleManias. That was not happening. You did not get Sable in a main event of Mania.
This one, we'll just have. I'm keeping an eye on the clock, so a couple of these we'll go through a little bit quicker because there's definitely a few questions I want to get to. But this one we'll just do because I really want to know what your answer is for this one. Josh Tiley says, simply, why do you love wrestling? But I'm really more interested in the second part. What led you to getting hooked on it, and what keeps you watching after 30 years?
Being just I think a lot of it is habit. It's just always been there. It's always been on. I've always just watched it. Just seen it evolve, like, it's
Did you
just
take a
what
break at any point?
is actually, no. I have never so many wrestling fans do, obviously. They're just like, "Yeah, I fell off in 2010 and came back with
It's
Punk,"
always
and
the 2010s. That's what I
yeah,
always
it's
hear.
like there's like 2007 to 2010. There's a lot of I always hear a lot of people are like, "Yeah, I kinda Austin left, Rock left." Like, there wasn't much going on after that. I bounced out. I just never did. I just always watched it. I always loved watching it. It was kind of the habit of that's what I like to watch on Mondays, and it was or and Fridays, Thursdays. It was good and bad, and there's years there where I'm like, this sucks. This sucks." And even in the last, like, 2018, 19, somewhere around there with Vince running everything and pre-COVID and then COVID, those were, like, hard. Like, I was like, "This is not fun," but I also like, well, I got everything on, like, demand. Like, I'm skipping commercials. I can fast forward through matches if I'm bored of it. So what's kept me under there is just I don't know, it's just always been there for me, so I'm always just I don't think I've never missed Raw. Like, I never have missed it's just kinda there. I'm like, I'll catch it. I'll always watch it every week, even if I'm skimming through some stuff. I know exactly what's going on, and I think it's just part of it. You just grow with characters, you see things evolve. You watch it for so long to know to start seeing when you grow up of like, why are they doing this way or producing it this way or oh they tried something different here or you're a fit wrestling fan so you read stuff on the internet and then you're more invested to see how things go. I like CM Punk. Is Punk going to show up? You get surprises, right?
Mhm.
Big name legends return and you're like, oh my god. And then so it's just something about it just kind of keeps you going. It's storytelling, there's drama, it's the athletics. It's hard as you've watched it for so long to be like, wow, like you don't get that. Ah, what like big return, Stone Cold glass breaks, and you jump out of your seat. Like I miss those moments. WrestleMania 40 was the last time I had that feeling in the main event because they obviously brought out so many legends.
Oh, yeah.
That was the last time, and now it's like it's all moved on from there. Like I don't get that anymore. Of that's where I missed too in previous questions of like missing the big superstars. There's nobody really left that can come in my opinion, to WWE where I go, "Oh, he's back. Like The Rock is back." I'm like, it's cool, but it doesn't. Maybe just because I'm old, so maybe I'm just like, that's nice. That's nice.
Instead of
That's
it
cool.
being this massive thing, it's like, "Oh, hey, he's back. Like, good to
Well,
see him again." Like,
yeah, because I remember times like when I was a kid watching Late Attitude Era, or like Austin took time off, and when he did come back, watching the pay-per-view, and I remember watching, like, pay-per-views and they were scrambled, and I'd still have to get it unscrambled on my TV, and I could watch the pay-per-view, and I would see and hear, like, Austin's glass breaking and walking down on the ramp, I'm like, "Oh my god," and you're just like I could feel my heart pumping and excited, and I miss that urgency. That's the part I miss.
Nope asks, "What's your take on longer title reigns? Do you prefer them over shorter?" So longer or shorter title reigns, what do you prefer?
Shorter. What do you prefer?
If I can only pick one of them, I like the shorter, but I do like the mix. I do like there being feels like there's one that gets held onto a lot, and it's almost like I kind of like the mid card ones, giving
Mhm.
different people an opportunity to see what they would be like with the title and see what they kind of do with it.
I miss title changes on TV. I know they won't do it anymore, but I know they could do it with the US title, Intercontinental, but the main titles,
Tag titles, they do it all the time.
my tag titles do it every week. But yeah, I miss when it'd be like the WWE title, oh my god, they won. Like you would get it. What if you got a match of Brock and Cody on SmackDown and they did
Yeah.
change the title?
Yeah, which makes it kind of hurt sometimes when they do title matches on like Raw. It's like cool, that's
Exactly.
exciting. So I really hope something else happens. Like you just had that the rematch with Liv and Becky.
Mhm.
You felt pretty confident. You know, Becky's probably not going to walk out and get it right back, especially being on Raw. But you did get cool moments, especially after. Like you got something that pushed the story
Yeah,
forward. So it's still worth having. You know, the whole situation with him trying to help Becky win, but then it turns into helping Liv again.
exactly.
Stuff like that. Uh, I think Philly Man might have snuck in multiple. All right, Philly Man, you're getting featured twice only because I really like this question. Uh, and it's a nice quick one, too. What are some of your favorites in terms of pay per view or PLE stages? So give me your favorite WrestleMania and non WrestleMania stage.
The WrestleMania with the roller coaster was really cool. I don't remember which one that was. I have to
There's a
look it up.
roller coaster like on the stage or like in the
Yeah,
background.
yeah. 33.
That sounds
Yeah,
cool. Where was that?
33 had like a just in the background. WrestleMania 33 had a full out, yeah, roller coaster design.
Where was the WrestleMania?
Let's find out. WrestleMania 33.
I'm just curious if it's like something they were
Florida?
known for or something, like Universal or something.
It might have been. Where was this? Pay-per-view. Where was this? Uh, Camping World Stadium, Orlando, Florida.
Oh,
That's why. So
perfect. So like Universal and all that.
you got it. It looked really cool. Yeah, so if you look it up, it's like it's got a big WrestleMania with a globe. Um, it's
Oh,
sitting on a
perfect.
globe almost, yeah, and then it's got roller coasters running in the background. It is really cool. My least favorite, I mean, anything in the 80s wasn't really anything. They just had the tunnel and you'd come out. It's something vintage about that was really cool. I don't really have a least favorite Mania stage. I'd have to like look it up
Did
here.
you
Let's see.
have a because what they asked was your favorite Mania and non-Mania stage. So I don't think they were looking for your least favorite, but
Right.
like your favorite stage for maybe a different PLE.
Judgment Day or Backlash from Attitude Era.
I've seen those in the game only. Those look pretty cool.
The thing is they had, yeah, they just had more personality back then.
Mhm.
That's one thing I do miss, is that set designs are just LED trons, then that's it. It does it miss other than like a WrestleMania, they don't give them the personality that they used to. So you would get things like Cyber Sunday or Taboo Tuesday, and it was a big computer screen in the background, and the floor was a keyboard.
Yeah, it
Judgment
seems like they do it
Day,
minimally now. With like Fastlane will have a couple cars. Money in the Bank will have a few ladders. My favorite, I've only seen two live at this point, but even with that, WrestleMania 39, the Hollywood one, that was
oh, that was
sick.
cool.
That to get that finally in the game too was really cool. Which, by the way, when are we getting that WrestleMania 41? I feel like we're supposed to get that by now, but
Summer. It should be now, but it's probably
okay.
summertime.
My favorite non-WrestleMania one, and this is because I went and watched it on Patreon, Money in the Bank 2011, because
Oh, yeah.
the instead of just a couple of like ladders, they had like these structures that were ladders, and like I think there was like money trucks, but
Mhm.
these two giant structures that made up individual like giant ladders. I thought that was cool. I like the idea of just going all out for even just a non-mania PLE. So those are cool.
It's awesome.
Janja 50 says, if you could go back in time and attend a match live, which would it be?
What would you do?
WrestleMania 40, night 2. Night 2, main event. I would love to have been there to like when the lights go out, Taker gong hits,
Mhm.
all the appearances, it going out into the crowd, like the fights being everywhere. Uh, that just seems like that would have been like everybody who was there is going to remember that like the rest of their life. That seems like that was just a once in a lifetime.
For me, I'd be torn, but I would say WrestleMania 17, the triple threat TLC match. Hardy's, Dudley's, and Edge and Christian. There was so much in there. It's my favorite pay-per-view ever, for the whole match card. And yeah, the TLC match was wild. It was so much fun to watch. It was scary. You could rewatch it endlessly. There's so many spots in there. So just for sure car wreck mayhem, yeah, I'd go for that.
Let's hit a few of the questions that came in from some YouTube subs. Um, Actually, I really want to hear what you say on this one. At WW41, is there a line a heel should not cross? And how far is too far?
Ooh, interesting.
Right?
I don't know if a heel can go too far. It just depends on like what the parameters are of such a thing. They're a heel. I think nowadays heels don't go far enough at all. They're
Think so?
cowardly heels most of the time. They scurry away. I'm like, what? Why aren't you just a scary badass doing crazy stuff or talking trash about their family or like I don't know, but like just doing more dastardly heelish things. No one's like a true bad guy. What about
Yeah.
you?
I assume the answer would have been wherever the opponent is drawing the line. I figure that's something you would discuss, like, hey, don't talk about like, my family or something, like something,
Yeah.
for whatever personal reason. So I would have figured it would be wherever the opponent draws the line. But what I believe is probably the real answer is where the network draws the line.
Draws
I
the line.
assume that that's where the, them not going as far as you remember them going or wish they would go is that's probably where the limitations are coming from.
I would probably okay. My better answer is don't get. You shouldn't cross the line if it's like you said. If it's crossing into like okay, you're getting into some family things that don't really fit. That is probably like one of my main things is like, does it fit the narrative and the story you're telling? So many problems I've seen in the past, and like AEW does this, where they like it's a wink and the nod for insiders of like this thing happened or this was said. You're trying to portray your product to a global to a the biggest audience possible, and talking inside baseball is kind of like, it's cheap. It used to work. They'd be like, "Ooh, you said WWE on TV and it's Nitro. It's WCW. Ooh, like you said Vince McMahon's name on a different show. Like how you are such a rebel."
I just
And
saw that
now
the
it's
other
like,
day, actually. I think
yeah,
MGF
like MJF
just did
did it
that.
the other day, and you're like, okay, like can we move on from this stuff where we call out other companies? It's not heel heat. It's just cheap heat. So I
Yeah.
think there's a difference.
Do you have any advice? I'm sorry. At Potato Kateri says, what advice or tips would you have for new wrestling fans?
Oh, there's a video idea. Hold on, Josh. I got it. I mean, just watch what you want to watch. Like, I'm writing this down literally. Advice
Shout out
for
Potato
new.
Kateri.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Mr. Potato. Um, I would say like find what you like and just kind of roll with it. I mean, you're a newer wrestling fan, so I'd say like you find something that's going to draw you in. Try to go to a show if you can. If you like WWE specifically, try and go to a Raw, SmackDown, or a PLE in your area. Experiencing it live is totally different. Like you had SummerSlam, it's fun. It's just a fun, entertaining show to be a part of. It's a rock concert mixed in with fighting and story. It's a whole thing. Um, don't overdo it. Oh, don't go on Twitter. That's
Fair,
it.
fair.
Enjoy enjoy just enjoying it. That's what I would say. I would say don't as a new wrestling fan, don't go online and see what's going on and get involved in it. Stay pure and just enjoy watching the thing you want to enjoy.
I'm with you. And especially you're list off going to shows to go to, uh, house shows too.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a new fan, they're very affordable. Like compared to the other shows, it's much more accessible. So if they come near you, it's a great exposure to just being around, fans that get excited about it. Because you don't go to a house show if you're like a super casual, or it's usually the PLEs that you're going to get the corporate tickets that get bought and given to a bunch of people that might not be as diehard. But everybody who's looking forward to a house show, those are people who sought out to go there. So getting to interact with those people. But my advice would be ask questions because wrestling fans love talking about wrestling. I have not had a single wrestling fan when I ask a question just give me a quick answer. It's almost like they want to like talk about the history of it actually, and it'll go on for a minute there. So feel free to ask anyone questions, man. Everybody loves talking about it. Um, John J. All Day asks, what is your favorite signature move or moment by a wrestler that you never get tired of? For example, theirs is currently either Pete Dunne doing the finger snap spot or the whoa part of Cody Rhodes' theme when he makes his entrance. So it doesn't have to be a signature move, but it's just something a moment they bring consistently.
Do you have any that you've
Uh,
seen so far?
I'm so glad it just happened too. And I get to talk about him twice in one video. Ludwig's announcement for Gunther when he's the champion or has something. I love when he like does his whole like the ring general, like he does the whole ladies and gentlemen. The lights are all dark. It's just the spotlight that gets me every time. I think it's cool.
I like Jay currently. I like Jay's doing the crowd thing. Like it's
Hmm.
part of his deal now. I think it's cool and people like light it up too in the crowd. I think that's pretty cool. Um I'm trying to think of older thing. I mean, Kurt Angle coming out and the whole crowd chanting "You suck." That was great in its prime. That
Hmm.
was fun. So yeah, there's new stuff is it's not a lot of it, but yeah, Ludwig is very good. it's very entertaining that they do that. And yeah, I'll say Jey Uso.
Okay. Uh, I want to especially get to this person's question
Okay.
because they are so they're active in my comments of just being pure positivity and trying to share
Nice.
wrestling. So I definitely want to make sure to include KT Stay 35. Hey Josh, as a wrestling newbie, I've been hyper focused on WWE and working my way backwards through the available PLE and Raw SmackDown matches available on Peacock and WWE's YouTube channel. Do you think that's the best route for a new fan, or should I be adding NXT, AEW, ROH, Ring of Honor,
Hmm.
Ring of
Yeah.
Honor, etc., to my wrestling education? Thanks for letting me submit my question. Keep up the great work. Um, and then they did clarify that they have been, um, they've also been a fan for a little while now. I guess their husband is also a fan, but I think they said their husband doesn't want to go to live shows, so that's the only reason why she hasn't actually gone to a live show yet. So work on that too as a new fan. See if you can get him to go to a show with you. But what do you think? If you're trying to consume the product as a newbie, do you think you should kind of stick with the show you're familiar with, or which way do you think you should kind of expand to first with that? Because I know you said not to overdo it, but if you were
I
going to
mean,
start to add,
yeah, if you're gonna start to add, I mean, there's no wrong answer. I would try out other products. I would try AEW to see what you, because it's on like broadcasted television. It's generally available for most people. Like you could go and watch New Japan. You could go watch TNA. I would probably go and flip over to Dynamite on a Wednesday and see what you think. Does it click with you at all? Do you like any of the characters? Some people you might recognize, but it might be worth your while to see because it is different. It's produced differently. The matches are like it's a crazy amount of moves in every single match. There's more swearing, there's more violence. So you might see you'd be like, do I like this stuff or does it move you back to more WWE style? I think it's always good to expand and try expose yourself to different things within wrestling because if you get into a WWE bubble, there is a certain way that all of it is done, and yeah, you might see like a New Japan match and be like, "This is the greatest thing ever." You never
yeah,
know.
yeah, that was a big thing I noticed with watching AEW for the first time is that it's not just the people. It's not just the intensity of the matches, but you can just tell there's a different style to everything, a different approach to everything, which you might find out you like more. So, yeah, instead of maybe if you're trying to expand to if you're trying to expand to just more wrestling and you just want to know you're gonna probably like it, and you're already watching WWE, I guess start mixing in NXT because then you can kind of get an idea of some wrestlers that are going to be up and coming on the show that you're already watching. If you're trying to get a different taste and just see what else is out there, yeah, like Matt said, check out some of the other productions because if you go to NXT, you're going to get WWE in a a different capacity.
Yeah.
So
You could also watch things like Heels, the TV show, or Glow on Netflix.
mhm.
Um, they're both great. So if you just want to like expose yourself to just more kind of wrestling content that's out there, you watch Heels. I don't know what channel it's on or anything, but Google it and then get a season of Heels. Even CM Punk is on Heels, which is
Nice.
kind of cool. And then yeah, Glow is fantastic.
Okay, last question, and this one's from me. This is the question that I have
Oh
for a
no.
longtime fan. Uh, I hear all the time that longtime fans say when they were growing up, there was this stigma against watching wrestling growing up. And so you wouldn't even tell like your friend groups about it because they wouldn't think it's cool. So a lot of people just didn't have someone to share that with. I'm just curious, what was your experience with growing up watching wrestling with that stigma around you?
It was hard in one aspect. So I did have that stigma. I did not grow up where there were other wrestling fans really around. I was very much on my own island. I have a brother. He had like very little to no interest in it. Like he might come and see like Goldberg on Nitro and see him smash some guys and Stone Cold. Um, but never watched it. Friends of mine, the odd friend that I had would watch, or we both be playing like WWF Attitude or Warzone on Super Nintendo or N64. And then like a couple friends here and there that were like really big wrestling fans, and we would go to the go to the movie store. That's how old I am. We go to the movie store and we would go and rent like some Attitude Era tapes, like that were still pretty relevant. That might have been a couple of months old, and you kind of catch up on pay per views that way. But in large part, it was like few and far between, and it was almost kind of like you got a wrestling poster there, hey? And then it's like, hi, yeah, hi, or yeah. It was very much like it felt very closet.
Hmm.
Um, and I know that was my experience where you're just like, "You don't talk about it." Like, my parents knew that I watched some of it, but not to the degree, and now I do this for a living, so they're like, "Huh, really?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is what I do." So,
That's awesome.
it's still odd to talk about even to this day where it's like you have to explain yourself as a creator. Number 1, explaining to people that you're a content creator is your career and your job. That's weird. And then let's cap it off with like it's about wrestling. And they're like, "What?" Like, yeah, isn't it
Hit it.
all weird?
Yeah, at that point, just rip the band-aid off, hit it all at
Yeah,
once.
exactly. It's all super weird over here. So as a kid, very hard, very weird. You wouldn't talk about it. Um, you just sitting there by yourself a lot of the time, just enjoying it. And maybe you know what? That's part in retrospect. Maybe that's part of the enjoyment for me is it was always my thing. It was
Mhm.
mine. Like I was the only one that felt like I was watching it, that was enjoying it this much. And then you as you get older and you see like there's a whole world of people that love it more than I do or obsess over it. But you start finding like-minded people. You meet new people, and then you're like, oh, I actually really like this too. And that's the fun part of it. It's conversations like this or what you're experiencing like with your channel and people commenting, coming in brand new or seasoned fans and giving their take and discussing it. And that's kind of the fun of it. So hard as a kid because you don't really unless you're growing up in a whole wrestling community, which is rare. It wasn't a popular thing.
I love your positivity with that too, because it's very few and far between. Like maybe a total of 3 or 4 times total, even on that my video that I made about becoming a WWE fan. I've had some people that'll come in and they'll say that they've been watching their whole life, and it comes off a little. They come at it with like a gatekeepy mentality of like you can't like, oh wow, you're just gonna come in now, like you didn't go through
How
what we
dare
went
you
through.
watch something?
Well, it's like they'll say like you didn't go through what we went through in like in the 2010s. You didn't deal with that. You got to go back and watch that. You shouldn't just be able to come in. And I'm like, that is such a wild
Yeah, it's wild.
perception.
Yeah, it's really crazy how it gets and then let alone the tribalism of online where it's like you crap on or you criticize WWE or AEW, for example, and people come out of the woodshed of like, "How dare you? You don't get it. You're an idiot." Like they just and I'm like, just enjoy your TV show, man." It's wild to me because I don't see it in maybe it exists. Probably does some because I just don't follow other things of like I wonder if it happens in entertainment as much when you watch Marvel movies or DC or
Hmm.
like phones, Android versus Apple, and there's always that stuff. But I don't feel like it's quite the same as wrestling fans because they get so protective over their thing of like, yeah, how dare you talk about it on your channel about this thing you like? Screw you. You're like,
I
no,
like
like,
that your mentality is to want to bring in more people and want to share. I mean, you're a content creator, so obviously you're trying to like part of what you're doing, and I'm sure what kind of motivates you is seeing new fans come in and maybe they
yeah,
discover you for the first time, and you're part of like me. You were part of how I started getting into wrestling and started following it more. So yeah, I'm glad there's so many people that are taking that positive route and not the whole that this is mine. You haven't earned it yet. You need to go back and watch all 40 years of WrestleMania first.
when they inevitably say that to you again, because they will, just say, "It's cool. I took your advice and I did it.
I watched all of
I watched all of it. Don't worry, I watched all of it." Just answer that.
yeah.
Just say, "It's cool. I watched everything." Like, "What? I went back and took your advice. You were right. I should do that. I did it yesterday. It's
I
fine."
should go find one of those old comments now that it's been over a month. Be like, I did it, man. Am I good now?
Are we
Can I
good
tune
now?
back in?
Are we cool now?
Matt, thank you so much for being here. This was a lot of fun. If you want this, I'd love you to take the time to tell people where they can find you, especially with your new channel that you just launched.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. We can do more stuff together for sure. YouTube.com/assemble show is the main one if you want to talk about WWE 2K content. And you can go over to youtube.com/assemble wrestling is the new one. We just launched it like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, we're trying to just talk about, like we said, just more IRL content, deep dives, all the fun stuff with the high production of the Assemble
So
Studio.
especially if you like what I do on this channel, Assemble Wrestling is where he's going to talk about his IRL, like WWE and pro wrestling and all that. And if you happen to also be like me and you play the 2K series, 2K24, his Assemble channel, which is where a lot of you probably already know him from, is still going strong. Once again, thank you so much, Matt. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.